fellow oddities, and welcome to a new second channel video. And today I'm going to be reviewing the Deadpool and Wolverine movie that just came out. One of the very few, surprisingly few, movies I was actually excited for this year. It seems like this year has just been kind of dry as a bone when it comes to movie releases, at least that I'm interested in. I've been kind of less interested in like the MCU, which I know this movie is MCU, but like it doesn't feel like any MCU movies have actually come out or are slated to come out after this one. But I just haven't been interested in anything. If there has been some stuff that's come out, I just haven't been interested in it. And other movies just haven't really caught my attention. I don't know. This year doesn't seem like the type of year where I'm going to the movies basically every other month. But yeah, this was a movie I was very excited for. Deadpool and Wolverine. Hugh Jackman coming back. Ryan Reynolds coming back together. This is what we all wanted. Like, come on, Deadpool, Wolverine, one of the best team-ups in all of comics. And it finally happened on screen, in a movie, live action, with two of the most perfectly cast actors in the history of comic book films. And how was it? It's pretty good. You know, the team-up is kind of the main thing you're coming for with this movie. It doesn't really offer much else unless you're like someone who goes crazy for cameos. There are a few decent ones in here, but you know, they're not the main focus. I would actually say though that the cameos in this movie are probably the best out of anything the MCU has done. Well, besides for No Way Home, obviously. Though those aren't even like cameos though. I don't know. When it comes to multiverse stuff and introducing characters from the multiverse, No Way Home clears everything else. Like ever. But I'd say this movie is second. Multiverse of Madness, I think everyone was kind of disappointed in a little bit. Like they had Charles Xavier, they had sketchy guy, Mr. Fantastic. But, you know, other than that, like we were expecting something way crazier. And that's obviously on the fans more so because they didn't really promise anything super crazy. But when it comes to like the type of things people were talking about like super old actors from these, I shouldn't say super old, but like I don't want to offend certain people, but when it comes to like actors from the 2000s, from the 2000 era of superhero movies, like a lot of those types of actors appear in this movie, which is what like a lot of people were guessing was going to appear in Multiverse of Madness and other multiverse stuff. I feel like there's been more multiverse stuff. Maybe it's just Multiverse of Madness. Like I don't know. I've been so like oversaturated by multiverse stuff, not just in Marvel, but in everything else, that it makes me feel like there's been more Marvel projects with multiverse characters, but there really hasn't. Like, I don't know. There hasn't been too many, like, legacy era cameos. Like, besides for No Way Home and a little bit in Multiverse of Madness, this is the only other one that kind of has those types of legacy cameos. And it does play into it in a meta way because it's Deadpool. And it kind of speaks on like the cameo culture Marvel movies have nowadays and the multiverse oversaturation and stuff like that. Obviously, can't go too deep into it without getting into spoilers, but I think it did some clever things with that. And I do really like the characters that they brought in. I love the thing I love about multiverse stories when they're done right is like a bunch of characters who don't really have any relation to each other coming together and like being a cool set of characters to team up, even if like story-wise it doesn't really make sense. And I think this movie has a lot of that. Like there's a team of just a bunch of characters from Marvel, like older movies, just random characters, actors that didn't really get to utilize their full potential as whatever character, and they just like bring a bunch of random ones together, and it like works somehow. I don't know, because they're all just such cool characters with cool powers and stuff, and yeah, it's just a nice team up. But I shouldn't dwell just on that stuff. Other stuff. I mean, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, like it should go without saying, like they get out of the park as they always do as these characters. Yeah, their relationship definitely the best part of the movie. Their banter, everything like that. They do a really good job at kind of showing you that this isn't the same Wolverine that we followed with the X-Men movies. Like, it's a completely different character, and it doesn't really feel like, oh, they just, like... This is funny, because it kind of has... The way I'm saying this kind of has relation to the movie, but, like, it doesn't feel like they just dug up the remains of Wolverine and just, like, reanimated him into this other thing, just completely disrespecting Logan in order to have Hugh Jackman in the movie. No, they kind of like separate that. Like that was a different Wolverine. This is a new universe Wolverine. They did a really good job at that. It doesn't feel like it was disrespecting Logan, which is an amazing movie, by the way. It doesn't feel like it was disrespecting what that movie did in terms of how Wolverine was handled as a character in that. And so, yeah, I really like Wolverine. Obviously, his costume looks amazing. I saw people. I know this isn't the majority of people, but like Twitter is such a rotting cesspool of insane people. So I saw a lot of people saying this costume was bad, and it's just come on, come on. Yeah, but the costume looks great. I do wish when he wears it sleeveless, when when he wears it sleeveless, that they had the shoulder pads. Like that's the one thing. Like it would look a lot better if it had the shoulder pads. But I'm not gonna complain that much. We've literally never seen this guy in this costume. Finally get to see it, and it's awesome. And he does wear the mask, and it looks awesome. Yeah, yeah. What else do I talk about? Plot. Plot. I mean, there's not really much to talk about. I mean, it's all just excuses to get certain characters into certain places so that they can have certain interactions with cameo people, with recognizable places we've seen in the MCU already. Because obviously they're taking advantage of the fact that this is the first Deadpool, first X-Men oriented movie at all that has been sort of taking place in the MCU. It's not in the MCU, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it takes place in the same multiverse, which technically everything takes place in the same multiverse. It's really weird to describe. This movie has a weird tone. It doesn't feel like an MCU movie, but it also doesn't feel like one of the Deadpool movies. It's just like kind of its own thing. And yeah, it's kind of weird to describe, but obviously it's a part of Marvel Studios, what I'm trying to say. So they take advantage of that, referencing like what we've seen in the trailers, like Ant-Man, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other stuff we've seen in the trailers, but they just do a lot of Marvel references and cool stuff like that. So that was fun, and I'm excited for Deadpool to be a part of the real MCU. Hopefully, the way this movie ends, it doesn't really clarify what they're gonna do with him going forward. So yeah, but I do hope he gets to interact with Spider-Man and stuff like that in the main MCU, because the main MCU is the one we all care about, or at least that I care about. Yeah, cool. What else is there to talk about? I don't know. I guess stuff I don't like. I don't know. It's one of those movies where I can't really say what I don't like about it. It's just like I don't know. It's just a movie that existed. It had good parts, but it's not like amazing or anything. This movie was nothing special. It's not like No Way Home or Endgame where it's just some sort of special touch on it. Like I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like it should feel more special than it is. Like seeing all this stuff on screen, but it doesn't feel that way. I feel like No Way Home, and not just like multiverse stories, but like things like Endgame, stuff like Logan. They just had that spice to it that made it feel more special. And this movie feels a little bit more like it's leaning towards the side of just like your standard MCU, whatever stuff. And that's fine. I mean, it's just trying to have a fun time. Like there's not a lot of emotional heartstring moments. I mean, they do that sometimes because that's what you do in movies. Like there's very very few movies that just have absolutely no emotion in them whatsoever. And the Deadpool movies already have shown to have emotional moments, so they try to do it here. It's not anything that's actually gonna get you. I'd say I don't know. I can't say for you, but for me, it's not really anything that's get to me in any way. There was nothing that made me like shocked. I had one of those theaters where they like clap at pretty much everything. So I don't know. I feel like if I didn't have that type of theater, I wouldn't have been as like uppy as I was during certain cameos and stuff. I feel like I would have just like smiled at them and like, hey, that's cool. But the whole theater would start clapping and stuff, and so I was like, oh wow, this feels weird. But yeah. Yeah. Well, what else do I talk about in this movie? Oh, in terms of stuff I don't like, CGI was kind of whack at some points. Yeah, they have struggled with that for a while now, Marvel. I don't really know what happened. I don't know. I feel like before Endgame, nothing was like super terrible, but after Endgame, it's probably the budget and stuff that they're putting into the TV shows and stuff, and also just like rushing stuff out, which shouldn't have been the case for this movie because I think this is the only Marvel movie coming out this year, right? I'm pretty sure it is. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah. Anything else to talk about with this movie? I think I pretty much covered anything. This movie hasn't shown a lot in trailers, which is a good thing. So I can't talk about too much of it without spoiling. So, I mean, I guess that's it. Is that it for Deadpool and Wolverine? Let's give it a rating. I don't really do ratings that often. But I guess I'll give it a rating. I'll give Deadpool and Wolverine. What type of rating should I do? I should come up with like my own rating system. But I'm not going to do that right now. So we'll say Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll do like A through F. I'll do that type of, or no, S through F. Yeah. I'll give it a B. I'll give it a B. Yes. That's my review for Deadpool and Wolverine. Definitely go watch the movie. I would recommend it, especially if you're a Marvel fan, obviously. If you're not a Marvel fan, I don't know, maybe not, just because a lot of the punchlines and stuff are very set in like Marvel stuff, so you don't know Marvel, then it might go over your head and you might not have too great of a time. I guess I should talk about the comedy just a little bit here at the end. Nothing really made me laugh. Like some of the tongue-in-cheek stuff did, but again, that doesn't really matter if you're a casual viewer. If you're not a Marvel fan, like you're not gonna get it. So yeah. But I enjoyed the movie. Obviously, I'm ending off a negative, but I did really like the movie. So yeah, that's my review for Deadpool and Wolverine. Kind of a chaotic review all over the place, but that's how we do things here on the Common Oddity. Weird how this is the Common Oddity, which makes you think less chaotic, but somehow it's more chaotic than my main. Huh. Weird. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. I'll see you next time, my fellow oddities. Why am I so bad at this? I've done this for like almost 3 years now.